Fork Guide, man. This is the ultimate guide to catch giant bass in January for Lake Fork, Sam Rayburn, Toledo Bend, wherever you may be in this region around here. This stuff's going to apply to it, and we're going in depth, man. We're going to basically give you the complete inventory list you need in your tackle box or in your boat stores. Everything you're going to need to fish in January and catch them all, no matter where you're at across this region. We're also going to break down the type of areas you need to be in, how to fish those areas. It's going to be a complete guide, man. Like you've never probably seen one video that's this in depth, let alone a live stream that's going to go this much in depth on how to catch them in January. What y'all know about T. Graham Brown? With the brown water obviously been going already. Before we get started, listen to T. Graham here. Cheers, y'all. Some old school. We blew the dust off this one before we played it now, I'm telling you. As we play it on my phone. Yeah. I tell it like it used to be. What can I say? You know, we may play some of that new stuff and some of that rap music, and all that. So we would play some different stuff around here. I just want everybody to realize I got some really old country somewhere stored back in my repertoire back there. So get in here tonight, man. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a comment. We're going to break it down tonight. We're going to get into some serious, in-depth stuff, like I said. And I do believe this is going to be a video that's going to help you guys over the next few weeks catch more fish. I was really just waiting on this part of the song again, so listen. Come on. Well, tell it, T. Graham. Let's go. All right, that's enough. We'll fade that out, or I'll just turn this into a damn drinking and dancing and singing party, and don't nobody need to see none of that around here. You know what I mean? Like, that's for private use only. Not to be used outside of the express content of Ricky Bobby Inc. or consent or content. It's going to be a fun one. The Red Cup's back. For those of y'all that have been around a while, when the Red Cup comes out, the live streams get a little more entertaining. Like, it goes down sometimes when we get the old Red Cup out. So we've got the real Red Cup out tonight. So don't worry about this one being I know you can see it's half empty. Guess what? Red Cup reloads sitting right there ready to go. So we're good. We'll be here for a while tonight. Settle in, strap your seat belts, move your tray to the upright position. It might be a bumpy ride. Let's get into it tonight, man. Appreciate the first few. Let's give the first few comments a shout out real quick. Billy Curley, Dusty Smith, Doug Stubbs, Phil Clark. Doug Stubbs is in there 2 times. Appreciate that. Clay Ennis in the house, man. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I will answer questions tonight. Probably do those at the end because I'm fixing to go in on discussing January fishing around here. And we're going to talk about it in depth, like I said. So let's get it. All right. First thing you need to know about January fishing is these fish are pre-spawn. If you're in the South, where there'll be some fish that are going to spawn in February every year here. And that's whether you're fishing, on the title we said Lake Fork, Sam Rayburn, Toledo Bend. You could add any lake in the state of Texas onto this. You could put any of them on there. The very far south lakes, like Lake Falcon and stuff like that, some of that's even further ahead of what we're talking about. So that's a little different. But for the most of Texas and basically for all of Louisiana, all of Mississippi, all of Alabama, all of Georgia, most of Florida. Florida's a little different because it reaches down there. And again, they're further ahead like our deep South Mexico style lakes are. For most of the lakes across this region, like this I-20 to I-10. Like if you know where I-10 is, you know where I-20 is. All them lakes in between there from the Atlantic coast to Texas, they're all going to apply to this pattern right now. And that's going to fit for all of them. So that's a lot of damn lakes. That's a lot of good fishing water right there, boys. I can tell you, and that includes spotted bass, largemouth, smallmouth. It's got all the bass in it. So here's what happens. These fish are pre-spawn. All these lakes will have that warm trend somewhere in February where all these lakes will have some type of fish that will, a little bit of a small wave or something will spawn in February every year. And sometimes it's like first big wave go time by the middle to end of February. Like the last couple of years, it has been get on the bed and go looking at them sight fishing all day, every day, like starting like February 20th, 25th, somewhere in there. That's been the last 2 years. So if that happens, if some of them start spawning in February every year, January has to be pre-spawn for the whole lake, guys. Whether the fish is going to spawn on February 14th, Valentine's Day, up there making love, doing its thing on Valentine's Day, whether the fish is a romantic at heart, or whether he's going to wait until April, he's pre-spawn in January. Like, most of these fish are pre-spawn in January. There's some main lakers that live the whole year main lake and really wait late to spawn, or sometimes they don't spawn at all. There's always exceptions in bass fishing. No absolutes in bass fishing. Most of the fish in our lakes, pre-spawn fish, okay? So that's going to tie into kind of where these fish are positioned. So before we go into where they're positioned, I want to give you the baits, because the beautiful thing, January is probably my favorite month to fish Lake Fork. And here's why. 2 reasons. The fishing gets very simplified, like extremely simplified. There's not a lot you have to think about. There's only a few different areas they're going to be in. There's only a handful of different baits you're going to catch them on. It simplifies everything. Like January eliminates more water than any practice you could ever have. So it really makes things easier to figure out in January. All the fish are pretty much doing the same thing, or most of them. The other thing is the fish are really big. They're at the heaviest weight this time of year. And yeah, maybe it's a little tough to get bites on some days. But when you get a bite, it is almost always a big one in January. You just don't catch a whole lot of dinks in January unless you're trying to. Unless you're specifically fishing in a manner to catch small fish. If you're going out there fishing normal stuff like we're going to talk about tonight, fishing a jig, fishing chatterbait, whatever you're doing, jerkbait, you're going to catch on average a really big size average. And the reason that is in cold water, male fish metabolism slows down. They don't have to eat. The female's metabolism slows down, but she's feeding a whole bunch of eggs. She's pregnant. You ever had a pregnant wife? They like to eat, dog. It's going to happen. Like, you can't stop it. No matter what their metabolism tells them, no pregnant women going to eat. So I'm telling you, y'all know I had a baby in April, right? Like, I'm still in debt from the feed. But never mind, I better not say that out loud. Cheers, y'all. Let's stop right there. If this live stream ends early, I apologize for saying that, because I might be dead. But anyways, y'all get what I'm saying, though. That's why you catch you're catching the big mature females more so than the males. They have a higher need to eat because of the pregnancy factor. So big fish, simplified. That's the main 2 reasons that like January might be my favorite month on Lake Fork. It's it's up there. It's really good. Really, really good. So what baits are we using? Since it's so simplified, Mr. Lake Fork Guide, what baits are we using? Well, there's about 8 of them that you need. For every situation you're going to face, for whatever style of fisherman you are, it doesn't matter how you like to catch them, what the weather's doing, these 8 baits will cover everything. All right, let's get into it. Kids, don't put that crap in your lip like I just did. It's a terrible idea. Let me start with my favorite one. Where is it? The jig. So we'll talk about where we use each one of these baits and the situations we use them in. My favorite bait to catch them on the winter, like if I had a way like I could just go do this and I knew they were going to bite, like if they're going to bite all of it, which way am I going to pick to fish? Big 3/4 ounce jig. I'm gonna now I use black and blue. I'm going to show you guys a different color just because I wanted to show you guys this color, because I think this color is awesome, and this color will be awesome all over the South, all over the country. This color will work everywhere. It's called fork crawl is what we call it. This is a fork crawl. This is the Versa jig from Bass Amigos Fishing. This jig I designed. Best jig you ever gonna find. Listen, I know everybody says that. I'll put mine to the test. You buy it. You find you a 3/4 ounce flipping jig that you like better, that comes through cover better, catches them better. I'll buy you Versa jig back from you personally. Not Bass Amigos, not the company that owns the jig. I'll buy it back because I believe in the jig that much. How about that? So y'all let me know. Versa jig, 3/4 ounce head. Kind of see the shape of the head right there. It's designed. All I can tell you is every angle, every curve on that head is designed to make it come through cover while still hooking fish really good in the mouth. So that's fork crawl. It's got kind of a reddish color, reddish brown with green pumpkin with some black flake in there. So just a really good all-around color year-round. And y'all know what they do to red and orange and that kind of stuff this time of year. So that's a good color, fork crawl. But really, what I throw more than anything is black and blue. And then I have a secret deal that I do that's black and blue with orange. And because I designed the Versa jig, which you can find at bassamigosfishing.com, it has orange on the belly of the black and blue. So it's a black and blue skirt with orange on the belly. It's called Neon Dion. That's my top secret winter deal. It was our best bait. Yesterday we went and started fishing in 22-degree weather. 22 when I pulled up to the boat ramp. And we went fishing. And we actually got bites when there wasn't another soul. I didn't see anybody on the lake till about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But I didn't see anybody out that morning. And we actually were out there getting bit on that Neon Dion color. Black and blue skirt with an orange belly, bright orange belly. And it's legit, dude. It's like a secret deal. Actually, I can't take full credit for it, man. Like Andrew Grills told me about that deal 10 years ago now, maybe more, somewhere in there. And Andrew's like one of the best jig fishermen ever in this region. It's kind of like, I don't know how many people realize that now. He used to have a little more publicity than he does. He's gotten into preaching. I don't know how much I know he still guides a lot, but maybe not as much as he used to. But Andrew used to be really big on Facebook and on the old forum sites and stuff. But that dude's a fantastic jig fisherman. And he's the one that told me about the orange, like take black and blue jig, put orange on the belly. Really, really good stuff right there. And it still works to this day. It was definitely the one they wanted yesterday for sure, over everything else when it was nasty conditions, like bad post frontal, first really below freezing, significantly below freezing day. Like, seems like that's all we've gotten to get out on here lately is the really tough conditions days, but it is what it is. We go catch them either way. So the jig, that's my first bait. Jig's number one. That's my favorite bait this time of year. My other two favorite baits, I like to fish shallow, I like to fish grass. Let's go chatterbait and trap, right? Can't have this talk about winter fishing without the vibrating baits, the chatterbait and the trap. So this is a 3/8 ounce jackhammer chatterbait. This little trap is my new favorite little lipless crankbait. This is a small company. I don't know how many people know about it yet, but Cornerstone Tackle. This is their swiver is what they call it. This is their lipless crankbait. It's got a very special sound to it. That's why I love this so much. It has like the most unique sound in all lipless crankbaits. Listen. What you're hearing there is a one knocker and BBs in the same lipless crankbait. I don't know any other ones that do that. I've heard of the two tap. That's kind of a unique sound. One knockers, got a lot of people have those. BBs, a lot of people have those. I don't know anybody's combined a one knocker and a BB, two separate chambers, makes both sounds. Very good bait. If you could see good on my phone camera, you would see plenty of teeth marks on this bait, but that's not going to show up on the phone camera. So this is my favorite color by them. It's like a red side with a chartreuse belly. But just the red crawl type colors are always good this time of year. I love the orange and the reds with the chartreuse mixed in. That's my favorite. The water can get a little stained in the backwater areas, but we'll talk about more. I keep getting sidetracked on where and how we fish these. Got to go through the baits. Chatterbait and trap, that's 2 and 3. All right, number 4, something you got to have tight on for shallow water fishing that's really good as well is a Movement 80X. It's a 6-cent bait. It's a hard wobbling crankbait. This is basically a knockoff of a Strike Pro Bubba. The Strike Pro Bubba looked more like a shrimp, had a little more hunchback to it, but it actually had the same hump in the back, but the bottom was a little more concave and had like some shrimp ribs or something in it. Strike Pro Bubba was designed to be an inshore saltwater bait. This right here is the Movement 80X designed for bass fishing. It is the hardest thumping crankbait you'll ever find, and it will make them react when they don't want to and it's cold and they're up shallow. So Movement 80X, that's number 4. Number 5, flat-sided crankbait. Got to have a flat-sided crankbait. Got to have it. Not an option. Number 6, jerkbait. The best jerkbait on the market. So by the way, I'm going to tell you, these are, as we're going through these baits, I want you guys to understand, these aren't like, hey, you need a lipless crankbait. Yeah, you can fish the lipless crankbait of your choice. That's the best one you can find right now, in my opinion. You can go try to duplicate that. I doubt you will. That's a 6-cent Movement 80X. Y'all know, I hate 6 cents. Screw them. I don't like them at all. They screwed me, so screw them. This is also 6 cents flat 75X. That's the flat-sided crankbait I'll still throw. I'm going to be 100% honest with you about what baits I'm throwing because I want you guys to have the best of the best. Like if your livelihood depended on it like mine does, like tournament guys do, I want you guys to have those baits in your box to fish this winter. When it comes to a jerkbait, Mega Bass Vision 110. Man, that's the best one. And this is the plus one. So you need to have kind of all 3 sizes depending on your situation. You need to have the Vision 110, the Vision 110 plus 1, the Vision 110 plus 2, which is right here. You can see the bills. I got all 3 of them here. And yes, these are expensive, but they are oh so worth it. So this is the Vision 110. This is the plus 1. This is the plus 2. So there's the difference in the bill sizes. Those are going to go to different depths. But got to have a Mega Bass jerkbait. Got to have an Alabama rig. And I lied, there's not 8 baits, there's only 7. Good news, only 7 that you need this time of year. The A-rig, I like, this one's got 3, 6, 9, 12 blades on. I like the 8 blades, this is just one I had laying around. This is a Smash Tech Alabama rig. They don't even make those for sale anymore. I don't think they might, but I don't think they do. I think you quit making them because they take so long to make. But I got a bunch of Smash Tech A-rigs, but this is an 8-blade Alabama rig. So 2 blades on each arm, 5 arms, no blade on the middle arm, obviously. Got to have an Alabama rig. And you want to rig those with 3-inch swim baits. That's what you want. getting a little confused and cluttered. I hope the flow of the talk is going good enough to retain your attention and make this talk productive for you, because I'm not a professional speaker. Please bear in mind that I'm just a dumb redneck. If y'all feel me on that? Here's an example of a type of swim bait. This is Cross Bait Company, local bait company down there around Rayburn. I think they're in the Lufkin area. But a little 3-inch boot tail. This is a 3.8. It's a little bit bigger than I want. I like a 3 to a 3.5. Cross Bait, man, I like their stuff so far. I've been fishing with some of it. Danny from Cross sent me some stuff a little while ago. Really like it. But I'll tell you another little cheap bait. Super cheap bait. Because an Alabama rig can get expensive putting 5 baits, 5 little jig heads. Here's a great little swim bait to put on there. It's cheap. A Zoom Swimming Fluke Junior. Very cheap bait. Come a lot per package. And works very well on Alabama rig. When you're talking about Alabama rigs, don't get too tied up about the swim bait you use, man. Get you a cheap one, put it on there. That's so much for them to look at. You don't have to have the best swim bait for them to bite it. And the Swimming Fluke Junior is not the best swimming swim bait, but it does work well on Alabama rig. You can put the Kitech, little 3.5-inch Kitechs on there. You can put whatever. You can put that cross bait. That's a good bait to put on there. Put whatever you want on there. But man, it's like in an Alabama rig, they're biting a school of bait fish. They're not very particular about which bait you use in particular. So A-rig is illegal in tournaments, Billy boy. Not most of them. Most tournaments that we're gonna fish, it's not illegal. So just happened to see that comment. It's illegal on the Bassmaster Elite Series. It's illegal on the Bass Pro Tour. I don't even think it's illegal. Is it illegal on the Opens? It might be okay to use in the Opens, bro. Like most tournaments will let you use an A-rig. Check your tournament rules to make sure. But look, we're not talking to just tournament fishermen. I got some other sad news for us there, Mr. Austin. I hate to tell you this, bro. Most people that bass fish ain't tournament fishermen. Like, most of us just trying to catch a fish and have a good time. And for those people, Alabama rig is absolutely legal, and you better have it tied on in the winter because it is very handy and works very well. So there you go, 7 baits. Jig, my favorite. Trap, chatterbait, movement ADX, flat-sided square bill. I like the Crush Flat 75 from 6 cents. Alabama rig, jerkbait. 7 baits. There it is. All right, where are we going to fish? There are 3 areas that we're going to fish. And some of this is lake dependent. So on Lake Fork, we're going to go to creek channels. And we'll explain more in depth on that here in a minute. We're going to creek channels. There's times when we're going to get on shallow flats. And then we're going to go to points. And they're all points, but points and bridges. That's where we're going. And that's it. Like I said, winter is very simplified fishing. No matter how cold it gets, it's almost like once they've gotten the cold, like obviously nobody really wants to go fishing tomorrow. It's going to be around 32 degrees and raining all day. That would be very, very difficult and uncomfortable. You got to worry about hypothermia situations like that. Can be a little bit dangerous, a little bit sketchy. You don't want to go fishing tomorrow. Other than that, no matter how cold it gets, like once they've had a few days of cold, like by this weekend and by next week, with these winter fish, it's almost the colder it gets, the more they group up and the better they bite. I mean, that's the reality of it, guys. I've had some of my best days on some of my coldest days. Now, the first couple days when it's cold, like the last couple days, that's usually tough because they're getting shocked. There's a major cold trend going on. It's a little wonky that first couple days. Once they kind of get settled into it, get to their winter areas, the points, the creek channels, you're in good shape. All right, let's talk about when do you fish what area. So, by the way, if you're at Rayburn, I'm talking about fishing creek channels on Fork. Well, that's because we have creek channels that have good edges, and they have trees that have root systems exposed on the creek channel. And that creates a bunch of little mini brush piles. On Rayburn, it's more about like low spots and offshore brush piles. So Rayburn, some of the creek channels are older lakes. Some of the creek channels aren't nearly as defined. Some of them are, but there's a lot of areas on Rayburn where the creek channels aren't super defined. There's kind of low spots, but you can find brush. And brush in those low spots is kind of what you want to look for on Rayburn. So it's a little bit lake dependent on those type of areas. Toledo Bend, you got some of each. You got some low drain spots, like just low spots with brush, and you actually have some defined creek channels where you can do the jig and a creek bend deal, just like we do on Fork. You can do that on Toledo as well. So it's a little bit lake dependent on how you address that. The other two, the points and the bridge points, apron points, and the flats, that applies to every lake you're going to go to in this region. So When do we fish which one? Well, the creek channels and the points are one and the same. You're going to fish those most days in the winter. You can fish those all days in the winter and catch fish. Never a bad day to fish creek channels and points in the wintertime. The shallow flats, and when I say shallow flat, boys, I mean the biggest expanse of shallow water you can find. You got to fish those on warming trends, guys. Warming trends. That's the key for January. If you get 3 days in a row, so the water temps are now creeping down into the 40s around here. If you get 3 days in a row where the overnight low is 50 or above, so the highs are in the 60s or 70s, the lows that night are in the 50s. 3 days of that, I promise you on that third and fourth morning, you will absolutely smoke them. It'll be one of the best fishing days of your life, as far back in the creek as you can get on the biggest shallow flat you can find. That shallow water will warm so much faster than the rest of the lake that those fish will push. In that short amount of time, a significant amount of fish, will push into that really shallow warming water. The bait will push up there, the fish will go with them, and they will get active and feeding on that bait when it's pinned up in that super skinny water, and you will dump the clutch on them, and all you got to do is pick up a chatterbait and a trap and a movement 80X. That's it. That's all you need. Them 3 things will do it to it, Jack. Like, they'll get it done. I'm telling you right now. You will smoke them, have one of the best days of your life. We've put that on camera many times around here. It's kind of a pattern I got known for in years past, and it is dynamite. Now, on those same days, there are still some fish out on the creek channels that you can catch that don't pull in. So you can still grind the jig. There are still fish on the main lake, on main lake points and secondary points that you can go catch on your jerkbait and your Alabama rig. Starting to see the correlation of which baits go where, right? That's what's happening too here. So as we talk, pay attention to that. So that being said, the backwater shallow flats, man, that's really for your warming trend days. The rest of it is for any day you want to do it. It's better on the cold days than it is on the warm days. So, okay, the jig. The jig is going to be my favorite way to fish it is on the creek bends in the little miniature brush piles that the root systems create. What do I mean by that? Creek comes along, makes a bend. That outside bend's always going to have a sharper drop because when it was just a creek, the water pressure pushed against that outside bend, kind of carved it out, made a steep. You've seen that when you go deer hunting or whatever, you're just in the woods. You've seen the creeks where they make a bend. That outside has a sharp drop. The inside is kind of a gradual slope. We've all seen that. Where that happens, if you paid attention in the woods, you would have seen some roots sticking out of that. Well, now put water over all that, let it wash out even more. Those roots get very exposed on those outside creek bends. That creates a little miniature brush pile right on a vertical drop, which is the best thing you could imagine for cold, cold weather. That's the best cover you can come up with. There ain't nothing better than that for cold weather, that vertical cover with the heavy cover on it. Vertical structure with heavy cover on it, I should say. And a jig is just the perfect tool, man. That Versa jig, I like the 3/4 ounce. So what happens is we throw that jig past that tree, drag it to the roots. We kind of want it to hang up in the roots a little bit as it comes, want it to catch. And then as you put pressure on it, pop falls. And that sudden pop fall, when you use a heavier jig, you get a more sudden fall. You get a better reaction bite. You catch more and bigger fish by using the heavier jig. That's why we have a 3/4 ounce Versa jig. That's why I use it all the time. So that's what you want to do on the jig bite. That's how you want to do that. Creep it through the roots, kind of get it hung up in there, then ease up on it till it pops. And when it pops free, drop your rod tip, let it right down in there. That's where you're going to get your bite most of the time. Either right as you drag to the root, but most of them come as it falls off the root. And that's what you're trying to do. Let it fall down in those roots as fast and as many times as possible to generate those reaction bites. That's what you're trying to do there. That's my favorite way to do it, man. I love that bite. That's the bite we did all day yesterday. You know, we started out doing it going, man, I don't know. It's a little early. Like these fish, man, I had time to get out this creek bend yet. It just got really cold. Man, as soon as we got the first bite, I went, okay, this is what we're doing the rest of the day, boys. And that's what we did. So it's very dependable. It's very consistent. On the really nasty cold days when it's tough weather, like you may only get 6 or 8 or 10 bites a day. Somewhere in that kind of average is what you're going to get if you're doing it right. But every one of them is going to be big. Every bite you get is going to be big. And you're going to catch 25 to 30 pounds. On a lake like Fork, you're going to catch 25 to 30 pounds just about every day you do that bite if you can generate those 6 to 10 bites. And if you do it correctly, you can. You can generate 6 to 10 bites on most days. Most days. I would say starting about this weekend, you could generate those bites most days doing that. We generated about 5 bites doing it yesterday on one of the early cold days. So it's available. It's there. It's always there. It's very consistent. So love that. All right. The chatterbait and the trap, that's mostly for your warming trend days. So your warming trend days, it's going to work better when they get on the flats. But even on your cold trend days, you can catch them on a chatterbait and a trap. What you need in that situation, you need grass. You need hydrilla coontail. You need underwater submergent vegetation. And if you can have that out to a few feet of depth, and you have some low spots and some drains running through that grass where it creates an edge on those, you want to fish those drains in the edge of that grass, the very outer edge of that grass, around those drains, around the, if you're in a massive expanse of shallow water and they've got 2 miles till it's 10 foot deep, like those fish are probably going to winter back there. And when it gets cold, they're just going to suck down in the drain. That's what I've seen happen in the past. So you can take the chatterbait in the trap, even on the cold days. If you've got some grass, you can grind out some really good days and really good bites, just getting that in that deeper part of that grass, getting it in that drain that's right on the edge of that grass, finding those low spots and little subtle depth changes. That's how you're going to make the chatterbait in the trap work. I've done that on Rayburn. I've done that on Toledo. I've done that on Fork. I've done that on Pines. I've done that on Palestine. I've done that on countless lakes. Athens. I've done it on a bunch of lakes and countless little lakes that we can't even start naming. There's too many. I've done it all over this region, guys. Like, that pattern is steady Eddie all over the region. If you have grass, that pattern will work in January every single day, no matter how bad and nasty it gets. The Movement 80X is the one that's kind of a little bit of an outlier. Like, it's like, it kind of, like, it works. It's great. Sometimes if you have too much grass, you can't really fish around it. But when you have that shallow water situation with some grass and it's sparse enough to work that Movement 80X, it has such a hard wobble that when other baits won't work, or maybe just a pressured lake like a Fork, like Rayburn around 147 bridge area, like Toledo and Housen and 6 Mile, where there's boats all the time, they're always getting fished for. Throwing something like a Movement 80X in those chatterbait and trap areas, that's why I've got it here in this list, because it can get bites when other things won't, whether that's because of pressure or whatever the situation is. When you're not getting bit on the chatterbait and the trap, you can generate bites a lot of times with that Movement 80X. And that's really its whole purpose for being here in this list. It's just kind of an alternative bait to those that gets bites when other things don't. All right, off the shallow flats, kind of. Points. Points are important here, man. And when I say a point, this can be main lake, it can be secondary, it can be any point. I really like to focus on the points. Like, if you know the lake, so like Fork, they really spawn up and down Little Caney a lot. So wherever they spawn a lot, get on the points out in front of that. Because this is, remember, this is pre-spawn, guys. This is pre-spawn. So if you know the lake and you know where they like to spawn, get on the points in front of that area when you're looking at points. And a lot of times this time of year, we're going to have to fish in that anywhere from 10 to 15 foot range. It's going to be a good range. And that's where your jerk bait and your Alabama rig come in. Your +2 jerk baits that'll get down to like 8 foot. Well, those fish will come up out of 10 to 15 foot to eat that +2 jerk bait. Here's another thing. When you're in that 10 to 15 foot of water, a lot of those fish, like most of those fish this time of year, suspend. And that's why the Alabama rig's always been a killer in the wintertime, and a jerk bait's always been a killer in the wintertime. A lot of those main lake fish, staging fish, they suspend. So this is a great way to go about catching them with these two baits. Now, if you're a live scoper, this is going to be easy pickings for you. If you're good with live scope, it's super easy to do this pattern. You just go to the points in front of the spawning areas. I mean, we watched Trey McKinney did this. Now we were later in the year than January, obviously, so he was a little bit shallower. He's in like 6 to 8 foot of water more, but he was throwing a jerkbait, and then later in the tournament he threw a Cinco. But most of his damage in that tournament on Lake Fork last year at the end of February was done on a jerkbait, and he was catching pre-spawn fish that were sitting in 6 to 8 foot of water right at the mouth of a spawning pocket, like a really good spawning pocket on Fork. That's where he caught most of his fish. With live scope, it's easy pickings. It really is. Like, you can just make every cast at a fish with live scope. You don't have to have a live scope to make this pattern work. We've been doing this pattern on Lake Fork for a lot of years with no live scope. We just go get on them points in Little Caney, up and down, all around it, outside, inside, all these little pockets they love to spawn in April and March. And starting in January, you just go fish those points with a jerkbait and Alabama rig. Now, here's the key. If you're no scope, you can't just go fish the tip of the point and think, I'm going to catch them right there. No. you have to wander around the sides and kind of go up and down the sides and kind of expand the area on that point a little bit. Fish that point like an area instead of like just a point. Like in the summertime, we like to look for them on the crest of the structure, grouped up, ready to feed. Not how this is going to happen. These fish are suspending, hanging around, fairly inactive at times, kind of just suspending in that timber, and they just kind of drift around all around that point. So fish that point like an area. Go out on it a little bit, slide down the side of the bank a little bit, go down this side a little bit, kind of fish around that point. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys what I'm saying there, but like you got to do that this time of year. And what I really like to do is like with little caney, there's so many little pockets on the outside and the inside, both sides of the outside and the inside, that I like to go start on the outside and just go from one point to the next, and even fish in between the points at times in that, whatever my depth is, wherever I'm seeing my fish, wherever I get my first couple bites at. If it's in 10 to 15 feet, great. If it's in 5 to 10 feet, great. If it's in 15 to 20, great. Wherever I get my bites at, I'm just going to stay in that depth and cover water around those points where there's a bunch of them, and just cover that water even in between on those points, because those fish can wander off over there too, and you kind of catch them one at a time. This is kind of a one at a time bite. Unless if you catch them right on the crescent point, sometimes you'll catch a group of them. But usually this is a one at a time bite. You're covering water around these main lake and secondary points near spawning areas, and you're picking off these fish on these Alabama breeds and jerkbaits. And you can just go cover water with them doing that, and you catch really good fish. Really good. I mean, you can get some giant bags of fish doing this. Now, the other thing to do on points is to go shallow on them, to go shell beds, hard spots, whatever you want to call them. I think they're hard spots. Some people think they're shell beds, whatever it is. The daggum hard spot that the wind blows on, go there. Especially when you have a little bit of wind blowing, go to those shallow hard spots that everybody fishes them on Fork in March, April, May. You can fish them in January. There's fish on them in January, especially like maybe not so much yesterday and the day before with the 20-something degrees. Maybe not so much on those days. But on your average winter day, where the mornings are 40-something degrees and the afternoons are 60-something, or the mornings are 50 and the afternoons are like on those average January days around here, you can absolutely catch fish on these shallow shell bed hard spots, okay? And the way to catch them on that is to get your jerkbait, your regular jerkbait, just your Vision 110, your standard. Oh, we're all tangled up. We'll just show you all three. That one, just a regular short-billed jerkbait. And then that's where the flat-sided square bill really comes in for me. That flat-sided square bill, I've caught them on all three of the big lakes that we mentioned in the title. Rayburn, Toledo, Fork. This exact color and model of flat-sided square bill has caught fish for me on shallow shell bed hard spots on all three of those lakes in January, February timeframe, in that pre-spawn timeframe. It's absolutely done. We put it on camera. You guys have seen it if you watched all the videos over the years. So that's another way to do it right there. That was a long talk. I got to rambling. Cheers, y'all. Thirsty. Man. Let me see. Let me think for a second, see if I missed anything on that. I think we covered it pretty well there. Points, mid-depth, deep, shallow. Told you how to fish those. Creek channels. Told you how to fish those. Flats. Told you how to fish those. Let me add one more bait. There was an eighth bait that I forgot earlier, so let's add this in there. Calm day. Fish, you've been catching them shallow. You've been catching fish on these flats and on the drains and low spots around the shallow flats. Pull in there one day, calm, no wind, maybe some sun's out, can't catch them. Black and blue Cinco. I don't care how clear the water is. Black and blue is the color. On your jig, I don't care how clear the water is. Black and blue is your color in the winter. That's your color. Or black and something like the neon. Like that black and blue flavor is your deal. Cinco, don't mess around with any other colors. Just throw black and blue. It will get you right on days when nothing else works in the shallow stuff. So if you're struggling on the flats or the drains around the flats and you've been catching some fish in there, you're like, damn, did they leave? No, they didn't leave. They just shut their mouth. Black and blue Cinco. That's your answer to that right there. So there's your eighth bait. I knew there was 8. I just forgot the 8th one earlier. How was my New Year's? New Year's was great. New Year's was great. Happy New Year. 2025's here. It's a brand new day. I think this might be the first No, this isn't the first video of 2025. We did some content last week. I forgot about that. Yeah, not the first video of 2025. But hey, it's one of the early ones of 2025, and we're trying to give you the goods, boys. We're trying to give you the goods. By the way, if you want more help than this, you want to know some spots, some advice, you know we got the Fish Life app. You can always go subscribe to the Fish Life app. Your Lake Fork Guy Pro Tips is the way to do it. Yeah, it's pricey. It's $100 a month subscription. But every week as I go out there and see things change, we're going to be updating that app. You're going to get some new power plant updates on there because I went to Power Plant Lake last week with some kids. You're going to get some new fork updates from me being on there. And I'm actually going to put some stuff on fork that's just specifically for while this bitter cold lasts, and then we'll change it back when the weather changes. So your Lake Fork Guy Pro Tips is the way to go. If you want to stay up to date with day-to-day movements, week-to-week movements of the fish, it's the way to go. Tom Smith said, what's all the uproar about the live scope and the older guys not happy about it all 3 days in tournaments? Well, the uproar is those guys are upset that these young guys have gotten better at something than they are, and they are getting their butts whipped. That's what the uproar is. And it really, I mean, look, you can make an argument about whether live scope is good for tournament fishing or good for bass fishing as a whole. We can have that discussion. But if you're trying to tell me that in a tournament it's not fair because those guys have it and you don't, it is your job as a tournament professional angler to catch them better than everybody else. And if these are the tools they're giving you, you better go learn how to use that tool as good as they can or better. If you're not willing to do that and you literally hear some of those guys say, I shouldn't have to go learn this. I've been doing this all this time. Well, the sport evolves, guys. Like, guys didn't used to have to learn how to hit 98 when they played baseball. Now they do. I got news for you. Dick Butkus couldn't be a defensive tackle in today's NFL, boys. Like, these dudes are all running past him. And all these new linemen that are bigger and stronger are blocking him. Like, as great as Dick Butkus was, I thought he was fantastic, loved his mentality, all that. He couldn't play in today's NFL. And neither could most of the guys that played in that time frame. Like, the sport evolves. If you don't want to put the work in to learn how to do it better than them, get out of here. You're not for the top level of the sport. I got news for you. Those kids, if you take live scope away, they're going to outwork you at that too. Like, take it away. They'll outwork you at that. Don't worry. Don't worry. Give them a year, maybe two. Soon as all your local knowledge is, they've caught up to that, you're done then too, bud. They're putting more hours on the water than you. They're learning something better than you are. They're more hungry than you are because you're complacent because you've been there a while and you've gotten satisfied. You're going to get your butt whipped by them. It's the nature of things. Are you talking about the first day of spring? Is that when you can use the black and blue stick bait? No, I'm talking about tomorrow, Jack. Like any day. Like the winter, January. This is specifically for January fishing. All the advice that I've talked about until this point in the live stream has been for January fishing. Does the Pro Tips option on the app cover Lake Fork only or other lakes? Covers other lakes. I just kind of cleared some stuff out because I had some kind of outdated information on there. And so right now I just put some new information on there, and I'm not finished uploading all the info. I need to do the rest of that this week. So by this weekend, it'll have more info on it. Right now it's just Lake Fork on there, but it's going to have other lakes on there as well by the end of the week. So like before, it had, I think, 4 or 5 different lakes that I was fishing in the fall and like early part of the winter on there for December, like November, December. I had all that stuff on there. That's all kind of outdated info, so I got rid of all that and started over. But it's going to have more wherever I'm fishing. Like if we make a trip to Toledo Bend, we're going to have info on there. And I really want to. I just haven't been able to get away because of my kids' sports schedule and all that. I want to make another trip to Toledo Bend. But it does cover wherever I'm fishing. How many fishing facts from books were busted with live scope? It is incredible. Yeah, I mean, I think we make a lot of assumptions because we never could see under the water. Now we can kind of see under the water. So like we're learning that some of the stuff we thought is not correct. But we are learning that for sure. It's not going to work where I am. You got ice. Okay. Well, yeah, no, you can't throw the sinkhole on top of the ice. That's probably not going to get you many bites. I am. So the tips I gave tonight are for January, the month of January in my region. What I said earlier was the I-10 to I-20 corridor, basically Houston to Dallas, going all the way to the East Coast. This all should work in that whole region is where it should work. Do I use a Quake anymore? I still have some Quakes. I think I've got one laying around. I don't see it. But, man, I just like this. Like, this Cornerstone bait, that little unique sound where it combines the one knocker and the BBs, I really have fallen in love with that. The Quake is a very good lipless crankbait. I mean, I would have no problem still using that. It's just with that, you either get one knocker or you get BBs. That's it. You either get the Quake Thud or you get the regular Quake. You get one knocker or BBs. That's kind of the option most trap companies have. Nothing wrong with that. This has a different, unique sound, and I love that about it. It comes through the grass really well. They bite it. Like, it's a little bit better mousetrap, in my opinion. That's the Cornerstone Swiver, so. Roddy Scott says he's been working hard so he could go buy him a side scan, so he's running late. Hey, that's fun. I run the Lowrance side scan. My console graph is Lowrance only. So I think the ultimate graph setup, I mean, if you want 360 Humminbird, you got to have that. That's the 360. I think that Garmin's making a little better product on live scope these days than, and I've had Lowrance the last couple of boats, but I do think the Garmin's a little better. My next boat's going to have Garmin. But when it comes to console graphs for downscan, side scan, mapping, Lowrance sonar, Lowrance is above everything else by a wide margin, in my opinion. Appreciate all the comments and questions coming in. I'm going to keep trying to answer as many as I can. There was something up here I wanted to get to that I missed. Can't find it. Can't find it. Weight on the Senko or not? No weight. No weight. I would like to. So this time of year, especially if I'm fishing around grass, I like to rig it weightless Texas rig. So like a 3-aught or 4-aught EWG hook, no weight. Did you see the? I don't know what that is. Did you see the LBS 62, the saltwater turned in panoramic view? What's on the buzz? I can't. let me take a few more drinks of this. Maybe I'll be able to comprehend that a little better. You lost me on that one, brother. Yeah, finding fish still requires time on the water. Fishing, maps, electronics just help. Yeah. At the end of the day, the guys that let me go ahead and break some news to y'all. I don't know if y'all know this. Breaking news. This just in. The guy that works harder than you is probably going to beat you at whatever you're doing, whether it's fishing or anything else. Daddy from Cross Baits. Cross Baits, hey, man, I'm a fan of Cross Baits now. Daddy at Cross Baits down there in Lufkin area, he sent me a bunch of baits last week. He said, sorry to make you work so hard putting all those baits up. Yeah, last week on the live stream, I did an unboxing, and I didn't know how many different baits and bags were in there. Well, I started going, man. We had a bunch of stuff to show off. I did have to do some hard work to show all those baits off, but I don't mind. I got free baits out of it, so I like it. Hey, you don't have to apologize to me at all, Danny. I sincerely appreciate it, brother. I said, hey, and I've been using them, dude. Like, so the chatterbait trailer, I've been using that. And there was something else I used. We were Carolina rigging some fish on the power plant lake, and I used one of your little creature baits, and it was catching. It does good. They're good. Cody Mays. Oh, Simo over there. Cody Mays Outdoors. That's Simo, y'all. We got a new name for him. Simo in the chat. And he says he didn't get any of those baits. And you're not going to get any of those baits, Cody. I don't know why you think I like you or something. You know where my boat's at? Come get them, dog. Glad you're back. It seemed like ICAST was pushing minnow baits. Is it propaganda or is this the new norm? No, I mean, these guys are scopers, man. Like, if you're a scoper, like, I think most of us aren't really scopers. Like, I think most of us like live scope. We're going to use it. Listen, drop shot used to be a trend. I mean, dude, the robo worms used to be a big deal. Like, all the finesse worms were, like, it's just another craze. Like, the minnow deal is just another craze. Guys, those fish are going to get tired of seeing minnows too. And then guys are going to figure out how to catch them using live scope, using something else. I mean, like when they were at Fork, minnows weren't necessary. So I want you to remember this. I fish Lake Fork and the surrounding area lakes, who all pattern somewhat similar to Lake Fork. They're all heavy cover lakes. They all got big, whoops, they all got really big fish in them for the most part. When they were at Lake Fork, none of those guys used a minnow. They were live scoping with glide baits and jerk baits, buddy. Like we weren't pinging no minnows at Lake Fork. So it doesn't really fit what I do. Now, when these guys go to different fisheries, have a lot more open water, a lot more depth at times, yeah, they're going to be pinging minnows. When they're smallmouth fishing, they're going to be pinging minnows. I mean, that's what they're going to do. So the minnows are going to be a popular bait. And here's my opinion on the minnows. There ain't a whole lot of ways to make one minnow better than the other. Like, minnow's a minnow, dude. It's like saying, well, this ribbon-tailed worm's so much better than that. There's actually more variance and more value in a different ribbon-tailed worm than there is a minnow. So we got a troll in the comments asking me if I'm a big dog. I'm actually not a dog at all. When I was younger, I would have bit on that, and I would have bit because I was a dog when I was younger. But I have gotten too old to have a whole lot of dog left in me. These days, if I'm any kind of dog, I'm that lazy one sitting on the porch waiting on dinner. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I'm at in my life. No, I'm not a dog of any size, form, or fashion. When you say, do you have some dog in you, there was a time. There was a time. Ronnie Scott says, watch the video of Mark Daniels. And I know you don't like MLF, but the one session with scope, two without is kind of cool. Yeah, one period with live scope, 2 periods without. That's interesting. That's interesting. Looking forward to seeing how that works out. MLF just, man, all their stuff. Like, and really, Bass is not far behind them at this point. But, like, all the nonsense that's come with tournament fishing the last few years has put such a sour taste in my mouth. And last year, MLF, man, I was so hyped up about the first day of tournament season. And I've been a bass fishing fan since I was a kid, man. Like Bob Cobb, TNT, Bassmasters, ESPN2, all that, FLW back in the day. Like, I watched all of it. Had like a little FLW tackle bag I bought from Walmart, man. Like, I've been, you know, most of us, a lot of us are. Like, I've been a bass fishing fan my whole life. I was so hyped up. The first tournament of the year, it's going to be on Toledo Bend. I'm all juiced up, man. And then MLF didn't even air coverage that day. And it just soured me. Like, it just, with all the other crap, with all the other MLF screwing over anglers, lying to them about this, lying to them about that, dudes wanting to leave, all the BS that's gone on. I was like, dude, I'm just not supporting them anymore. I'm out. I'm not watching. I'm done. I don't want to see them anymore. Forget it. And I didn't. I did not watch a single second of MLF coverage last year. So that's just where I fell on it. But, you know, it's still a good product. It's still great fishermen. I know some guys over there. They're great dudes. I think the leadership sucks at MLF. And it seems now like Bass is doing everything they can to be just like them. Seen any coots on the grass flats asking for a duck hunting friend? Oh, don't make me go there. Don't you dare make me go there. Yeah, I see plenty of coots. They're not hard to find. You ain't got to, we'll put it this way. You ain't got to be much of a duck hunter to go kill some coots. We'll just say that. We'll just leave it at that. I cannot believe that I saw what I saw where somebody was like bragging about shooting a coot. I just can't believe it. I cannot believe it. Never mind. We'll leave that alone. What do I think about MPFL? How would you do your tournaments? How would I do my tournaments? Ooh. I don't want any part of that tournament world. Like, now I like local tournaments, small time tournaments. I like, you know, just the people that are kind of in it for the love and passion of the sport, so to speak. Man, I think those tournaments are great. Like, I would not mind being involved in that kind of tournament fishing, but to do it on the professional level where you got to deal with all the egos, like, here's the problem, bass fishing. It's a daggum ego. Like, these dudes think because they're good at fishing, like, they're important. Like, bro, most of the world has no idea that you exist. Most of the world thinks that you're out there with a cane pole and some overalls trying to catch a catfish on a chicken liver or something, like drowning minnows. Most of the world has no idea we have all these electronics and $100,000 bass, but they don't know. Like, Jacob Wheeler is not a real celebrity, guys. He's just in our corner of the world. Like, our little niche, tiny community, is he important. Hell, there's plenty of people that bass fish. all the time that don't know who Jacob Wheeler is. Like, it's tournament bass fishing is so insignificant in the grand scheme of things. And yeah, there's some money around it. There's some money generated. There's some real money involved, and that's part of the issue. But like these egos of these guys, I'm not dealing with that. I would never. I have no desire to ever be involved in that world. None. And most of those guys are going broke trying to do it. Best five fish, me versus Chris LA, and who wins an estimated weight at Lake Fork? Oh gosh. If they're biting a big bait, Chris is gonna win. He's definitely gonna win if they're biting a swim bait. That's for sure. I think I could probably hang with him probably in certain situations. I think if it was sight fishing and they weren't biting the big bait for him, and so he had to kind of get up on the bank, I think I could probably hang with him in that. I don't know. It's hard to say you can hang with that guy. I mean, with any of those guys, they're good, dude. Like, those dudes are good. You know, here's how I feel. They've had some Elite Series tournaments out there, and I think we all kind of do this. Like, I've got a little bit of just, like, I'm still just a local weekend angler. I've just happened to figure out a way to stay in this and make a living doing it. Like, I'm just the dude that drifted around in a plastic boat when I started, like everybody else, you know. I've had times where I was guiding. Like, the first couple of years of Elite Series here, I was guiding while they were there. My customers' bags would have been in the top 10. I mean, so there's certain situations where the tournament sets up good for me where I can hang with those guys. But there's plenty of situations where I would go out there and suck. And that is just, man, like, look at what Lee did last year. Like, Lee Livesey last year got smoked. Same dude that won 2 years in a row. Same dude that caught 42 pounds on Championship Sunday that one time. Like, same dude that kind of controlled the whole tournament from start to finish the next time. Like, that same guy went out and got his butt whipped last year. Like, unmercifully whipped, crushed, destroyed, feelings hurt on his home lake, Lake Fork. So there's a lot of that involved. Like, on this day, in this situation, I can hang with those guys. On another day, in another situation, I'm going to do what Lee did. I'm going to catch 2 for 8 pounds like he did the first time they came here or whatever it was. Like, you know, fishing's weird like that. I mean, you get to a certain level, it's kind of like when it's your day, it's your day. The guys that are really consistent are the ones that, like, I admire the most. Like Patrick Walters. So consistent. All the time. So good. Wheeler's another one. Obviously, Wheeler. But, I mean, those guys, Brandon Polinick on his good years, very consistent. Drew Cook, man, very consistent. Like, that's the dude that I look at and I'm like, wow, that's hard to do. Like, the winning the tournament is just it lined up for you. Like, you're very good and you work very hard, but it lined up for you to win the tournament. I'm in the top 10 of the AOY every single year for multiple years. Dude, I cannot explain to you guys how hard that is to do. That is so hard to do. Not very many people can do it. Have they been on beds at Welsh? I was there last week. I didn't go looking for bedfish, but I had kid with me. I didn't want to kind of do that, and we were catching them, kind of just swimming some stuff around, you know, just typical Welsh fishing, getting around grass, chatterbait. Dude, whoever started the rumor that Lake Welsh don't have no grass, you a liar, dog. Like, you a liar. Whoever started the rumor that Welsh was like, all the grass was gone, you are full of it. Like, there's still plenty of grass in Lake Welsh. Yeah, it's not as crazy as, like, what you got to understand, the last year or two, like, Lake Welsh's grass was more than I'd seen it in 10 years. Like, it was a lot of grass in Lake Welsh the last couple of years. So, yeah, no, there's not that much grass in there. Like, it's not all over this lake everywhere you go out to 15 foot of water, but there's plenty of grass in Lake Welsh. There's areas you can't fish because there's too much grass right now. So, yeah, we were just swimming a chatterbait and a swim bait around grass and catching them doing that. So, never really crossed my mind with the guys I had in the boat to really go looking for bedfish, but there's probably some spawning. This cold may knock them off because, like, the water was in, like, the 60s when you got away from the discharge the other day. So it might get too cold for them to spawn with this cold we have now, because it's pretty significant cold we got going on. What about KVD? Could I have a fishing contest with him on who could get the biggest fish? Man, look, who could get the biggest fish? I can have one of those contests with anybody. Like, and I mean, it's just who's going to win is, he's probably going to beat me more than I beat him. But, I mean, there's going to be days where I win that, obviously. That's kind of, best five is the best way. I'll say this for how I would run a tournament. Best five is the best way to measure your day, boys. It really is. It really is. Am I going to be doing live coverage of the Classic? Not live. I won't have a way to do live, but I might go there and do some coverage. I think there's some bad blood between me and some guys, so I don't think I'll get the behind-the-scenes access I used to get. I know that. May have irritated the wrong people, burned a couple bridges, may have done some of that. Surely not me. Surely not. Any of y'all ever do anything like that? What's your thoughts on a swim jig and the pre-spawn around grass? It works. There's some guys that do it. I think a chatterbait's better. I think 9 times out of 10, in the pre-spawn, a chatterbait's going to catch them better than a swim jig does around grass. The vibration's going to help you. That's just my opinion. I think most of the time, if you catch them on swim jig, you'll catch them better on chatterbait. What would I recommend for a Highland-style lake, which I don't have a whole lot of experience with, to be fair, with 3 feet visibility, no defined creek channels? Right now, this time of year, water cold, I'm going to go to the rock transitions, where the rock changes, and I'm going to go to the steep to shallow transition. So if I have a shallow bar that comes out and has a steep drop on the edge, I want to fish around that. It's like a creek channel swing. Kind of makes its own little version of a creek channel swing when you find that setup. Like Lake Belton is one that I'm thinking of. It's not really a highland reservoir, but it has that steepness to it. And it has little flats that jut out off these like cliff banks almost. And they make these little transitions where you go from deep to shallow really quick. So I'm going to go to those kind of transition areas. That's going to help me locate the depth the fish are in. And then, man, a jig. A finesse jig and a jerkbait is going to be your main tool there, depending on how deep you have to fish. And that's just me I have very little experience on Highland-style reservoirs. Very little. Favorite creek at Lake Fork? What's my favorite creek? Ooh. I don't know, man. That's a really hard question, dude. My personal favorite is probably Running Creek. Just because of like some kind of landmark moments for me that have happened there. It's not the best creek to fish right now, I'll tell you that. I mean, y'all go whole buzzard to crap out of Running Creek if you want to. It ain't gonna do you much. You're not gonna find me. Like, it ain't the best creek to fish right now. But historically, for me, I've had some really, really cool moments in running. So that's probably my favorite. Over the last 5-10 years, probably for sure the last 5. Yeah, no, I guess maybe like 8 years. Like the last 8 years. Little Caney's been the best creek on the lake, guys. I mean, it's got the big offshore structure at the mouth of it that always provides. It's got all those secondary points that work in between times. It's got all the spawning fish in the spring. Like, it's the best creek. And if you don't believe me, go look at the professional tournaments. Lee Livesey, 42 pounds, that's in Little Caney. At the same tournament, Patrick Walters, right next to him, that's Little Caney. Third place finisher, Brandon Cobb, right up Little Caney. MLF that was won by Alton Jones Jr., Little Caney. Even the fall tournament, the big fish that Patrick Walters caught at the end to go over 100 pounds, and the biggest bass of the tournament, which was caught by Seth Fighter, Little Caney. Like, it's kind of been the best population of fish on the lake has been up and down Little Caney the last 8 years or so. Man, I was processing some deer meat at a buddy's house the other day, and I cut a chunk out of the tip of my thumb, and it is I just knocked the scab off of it. a little painful. Favorite creek is where the fish bite. Yeah, that favorite creek question, that's a lot like, what's your favorite bait to fish? My favorite bait to fish is the one they're going to bite next. Like whatever the next bite comes on, that's my favorite bait. Where's technology going? Live 360. That's where it's going. If the top level in bass fishing in general doesn't revolt and kind of ban and reject live scope, the next evolution of technology will be a 360 view with live. And so you'll have a vertical live and an overhead live on every boat. That's what will happen. I've already heard rumors about that. It's in the works. So that's definitely being worked on. Uh-oh. We're out. Y'all know what that means? It's a good thing I made another one. Let's go. Come on. We came prepared tonight, boys. Is 6 cents still good? Define what you're asking. Are their baits good? Some are absolute dumpster fire trash. Some are hot garbage soaked in baby diapers and Indian food. We all know what the Hangover swim bait was, just a piece of junk. Like, it's absolute trash. The Axis crankbait was a piece of junk. Absolute trash. That they still sell. They're not going to let go of that inventory and admit they made a mistake. Once they order, they're moving baits to market so fast to meet numbers from last year's. This is what it seems like. Just an opinion, just a guess. But I had some inside, experience with them for a lot of years. So what it really seems like and feels like, in my opinion, is that they are trying to match this July's numbers and exceed last July's numbers. And so they are pushing products to market too fast to make sure that all of them are right. And sometimes they come out with winners and sometimes they come out with really big losers. And at this point, they're making look, Ben Milliken made a post, I think it was last year sometime. Ben Milliken made a post where it said something about we're coming out with 100 and something new baits in the next month. Bro, there's no way most of those are good. Most of those are going to be dog shit. They're going to be trash. Most of them. There's no way to make that many baits and get it right. I've been involved in designing baits. And I've sent messages to the owner of 6 Cents telling him there's a problem with a bait. And nothing gets done about it. Nothing gets done about it. It just comes on out. They sell it just like it is. That was kind of the beginning of the end for me over there. I was like, I don't know about this. They still make a lot of good stuff. Don't get me wrong. They still make a lot of good stuff. I've plugged, and talked about some of their baits tonight. They have good product. They have a lot of bad product now too. They do. And all that's just an opinion, But I've always tried to be extremely honest with you guys about it. Jesse Boyd says, not gonna lie, the flow glider is the worst glide bait I've ever bought. The flow glider, that's what I'm talking about. I literally sent a message about, I talked to them about that. I was like, hey, there's something wrong. There's a problem here. We're gonna release it anyway. Oh, you just gotta file it down the inside joint. Man, come on, dude. I can't tell people to go spend whatever it was, $40 on a glide bait. I don't remember what it was. Here, go spend $30 or $40 on a bait, and then you got to file the plastic off of it to make it actually swim. It's a glide bait that does not glide. It just goes. That's what it swims like. It don't glide. The joint's too stiff, man. The joint's too tight. You got to do some homework on it to make it work. That's not okay. It's not okay, in my opinion. Not okay. And that's just one example. There's others. Go-to tip to break down a new lake fast for big winter bass in Texas. Man, I tried to give you guys, so we talked about that earlier tonight, man. Here's what, creek channels, points, flats. Creek channels, points, flats. So if you're new to a lake, the flats take a little bit more local knowledge and time to figure out. So creek channels, points. That's what you need. The steepest low spots, the points, everything we talked about earlier in the video to do on those, that's it. Cover all of those. Cover all of the, like, find as many of those as you can and cover them till you start figuring out some bites. Which, if you got here late, man, look, is a long talk we went through. It's about 30, 40 minutes. When the video's done tonight, tomorrow, the next day, whatever, go back and watch it. What A rig do you use? I use the Smash Tech Alabama rig, but I don't think he makes those anymore. So you guys are on your own to figure out. Hog Farmer. Hog Farmer made a great. I used to use a Hog Farmer before I used Smash Tech. Hog Farmer made a good Alabama rig. They make a good one. Is this live right now? Yeah, this is live right now, Landon Sweeney. If you had any doubts, it is live right now. Do I recommend bladed jigs because you can reel them slower? No. I like chatterbaits or bladed jigs. Man, the vibration on it's not about reeling them slower, which you do want to fish them a little bit slow, but you can fish a regular jig slower than you can fish a bladed jig. I mean, obviously. To fish a bladed jig, you got to reel it fast enough to make the blade vibrate. So it's just about that vibration. That vibration is a bite enticing element that is added to a chatterbait. Live Scope is the A-Rig 90 and early 2000s. I don't think the A-Rig was here quite then. I think the A-Rig was more like 2011, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there is when the A-Rig came out. But yeah, no, it's causing a lot of uproar. And I'll tell you this, I will give Bassmaster and MLF and all them credit. They immediately banned the Alabama rig, and I think that was a huge mistake. I think that was wrong. I think they should retroactively take that away and let the A-Rig be a bait that people can use. I don't think there's any reason to ban an A-Rig. I think that's crazy. So at least they haven't done that this time. Are you throwing a big profile jig right now? I'm throwing a heavy jig. I am not throwing a big profile jig. I am trimming the skirt to the bend of the hook. I am trimming the trailer, the crawl trailer, really short. I like a nice short compact profile, but I want to throw a 3/4 ounce jig to get, when it comes off that root, when it comes off that brush, and it falls, I want it to fall fast to generate reaction bites. If I played with a free rig, don't even know what it is. So, no, I have not. I have not played with a free rig. So, I'm not the best. Like, I kind of keep my head down and do my own thing. I'm usually not the earliest to find out about the latest and greatest techniques and baits. I'm a little bit late on a lot of that stuff. Landon Sweeney says he caught his PB at Lake Fork last March, 10 pounds, 3 ounces, 200 yards away from the minnow bucket ramp. That's cool. Hey, that's what Lake Fork's about, dude. Congratulations. I'm glad you got on one. There's a lot of people that have done it there. I mean, but it's special. 10 pounders are special. I'm not trying to take anything away. A 10 pounder is truly special. It really, every time, it really is. But man, Lake Fork's a great place to give yourself a chance to do that. And March is a great time. From now till early June is a great, like, you're not going to find a better place on earth to go catch big fish. Unless you're a really good live scoper and go into Ivy for the next 2 months. Other than that, you're not going to find a better place on earth to go catch giant bass than Lake Fork, Texas. For your average everyday angler, Lake Fork's still the best chance you got. Depending on weather, how do you think Bass Champs is going to be won on February 15th? 3 days after a full moon. So that's going to really depend on weather. Probably going to be pre-spawn. Probably going to be a lot of what we talked about tonight. Probably going to be, whoever wins Bass Champs is probably going to be scoping on the main lake with jerkbait or A-rig or something in that realm. Maybe pinging a minnow. Probably not pinging a minnow, but glide bait maybe they can catch. Well, because you got to catch the little ones. So that changes everything with Bass Champs. Like, no, it could be just a dude up on the bank grinding a trap around. That changes the whole freaking the whole slot limit changes everything about how it fishes. If you were just going to try to catch your best five, it would be a dude live scoping on the main lake with a jerkbait and Alabama rig. That's what it would be if you want the best five. But because of the slot limit and everything with Bass Champs, it's going to be probably just a dude that's doing something to catch a bunch of 2-pounders on the bank and gets lucky and catches a 10-pounder while he does it, and he's going to have his 14 or 15 pounds. Probably what's going to happen. I don't think it's going to get warm enough by then for fish to be spawning. Very cool. Watched your videos while in the motel at Fork a couple weeks ago. Went out and caught an 8.81 following your tips. Much appreciated. Hey, thank you for watching, brother. That's what we're doing for. Would you get rid of the slot limit if you were in charge? Yes, I would. But I would make Lake Fork a 20-inch minimum. 20-inch minimum. That's what I would do. 20-inch fish pretty big. I might even make it a 22-inch minimum. And people are like, oh, you're going to lose all your giants. No, you're not. No, you're not. Okay. First of all, a 20 to 22-inch fish is much more able to survive a day in the live well than a 14 or 15-inch year-old fish. I feel like we lose a lot more of those young fish due to live well mortality than we would if we had 22 inchers in there. I feel like so many more of those little ones are just not as tough. They're not as tough. They're not gonna make it. You know, they don't have as big a lung capacity. They don't have, you know what I mean? They're just not as developed. This is me not being a biologist. This is my thought. But I would put a 20 to 22 inch minimum somewhere in there. Maybe 21. Somewhere in the 20 to 22 inch range minimum. Here's what else it's going to do. It's going to let all those fish below that survive and thrive, and it's going to knock the population numbers up. And we all know that fish can spawn well within that, under that range for several years. So you're going to have fish that are always spawning below that number. I think the biggest issue we have at Lake Fork is I think we're killing young fish through tournament delayed mortality. There's so many tournaments on Lake Fork, and some of them are so big. And we're having everybody box and bring in these 14 to 16-inch fish because of slot limit. So, man, like, I think we're killing so many of those young fish before they ever have a chance to get big, before they have a chance to spawn. Like, let's let those fish live and get a few spawns in them before we even think about threatening them. Number one, that's going to help the population of the fish in Lake Fork. The genetics and the ecosystem in Lake Fork has proven that it will continue to grow big bass. For all the 40-something years now, it's been growing giants, and it will continue to. So let's let it happen. Let it happen, right? Let's get more fish in the lake. That's going to, you know, let's go. Like, we don't have an overpopulated lake by any means. We could use a bigger population of bass in Lake Fork for sure. The other thing it's going to do is for the businesses around the lake, if you have weekend tournaments where the 5-fish minimum is 21 inches, well, the winning tournament bags are going to be 30-something pounds. Most of them are 25, 30. And then you're going to hear people talk about Lake Fork. Hey, what'd it take to win Lake Fork? You know, right now it's, hey, what'd it take to win Lake Fork? Oh, 10 pounds. What? 10 pounds on 5? Yeah. Well, the guy that won it only caught 1, but he won. What? It's just all monkeyed up. If you say, hey, what'd it take to win Lake Fork? 28 pounds. That's pretty good. Hey, what'd it take to win Lake Fork? 38 pounds. What? 38? That's going to generate buzz and business for all the businesses. Right? Much better for me included, everybody that operates around Lake Fork. It will be much better for business, 100%. There's no doubt about that. And then the last thing is, bro, most of your weekend anglers aren't catching 5 21-inch fish in a day. They're not that good. Sorry if I'm hurting somebody's feelings. Most of the weekend anglers are not good enough to go catch 5 21, 22-inch fish. So we're automatically going to reduce the number of fish in live wells just by doing that. So I think that would be the way to do it. Cody May says nobody's keeping them anyways. 100%, Simo. Ain't nobody keeping them to eat them. You're right. But they are live welling them, carrying them around all day, every weekend of the year from Valentine's Day to Thanksgiving by the hundreds. And every one of those guys is catching 12 to 16-inch fish and put them in their live well. How many of those are dying? Delayed mortality is a very real issue with tournament bass fishing that we don't fully understand, we don't fully comprehend. I just know it's significant. And we could use more fish in the lake, for sure. For sure. So I think that's what we should do. I think it should be that. But I'm a nobody, non-important fishing guy. Nobody cares about my opinion on it. So it'll never happen. But I think that's what should happen. And Lake Fork can handle most tournaments will have somebody good enough to fill out a limit on a 20-inch minimum. There's plenty of those fish in there, you know. I wouldn't fill a 20-inch minimum every day. I'm going to tell you that. I don't catch 5 fish over 20 inches every day I go out. Sure don't. Sure don't. Even, well, in the springtime I do. yeah, in the springtime I do. Yeah, we catch 5 over 20 inches pretty much every day in the springtime. Unless there's just some crazy weather or just a weird day or something. But yeah. Tim Bolton says, working the catch and release boat, most dead fish were from banging around the live well all day and not being fished. Yeah, and that does happen. And that's going to happen, fish not being fished. But look, a lot of fish that get caught in shallow water, they don't need to be fished, but like, it's just stress, dude. Like, can you imagine for that fish how stressful that scenario is? And then on top of that, I hear what you're saying, most dead fish in the live release boat. Delayed mortality to me is a bigger concern than the ones that die in the like a release boat. Like, because you go release these thousand fish, whatever it is. How many, like, bro, if you have 1,000 fish in that release boat from a big like bass champs tournament, right? Let's say you got 1,000, like, was there 200, 300 teams? 5 fish per. Okay, maybe you don't have 1,000. But at the big bass tournaments, you might have 1,000. You might. But you got hundreds. Let's say you have 500 fish that you have to go release. And 30% die on delayed mortality after you release them. Bro, that's 150 fish every weekend. Like, 150 fish. And every fish makes thousands of fry. So how many fry did we eliminate by that one 14-inch female, that yearling female dying? How many fish did we just take out of the lake? We just took tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of fry out of the lake. That's what we did. It's valuable, man. Like, we need to protect them. And I think the best way to protect them is to have more mature fish that can handle the trauma better and are harder to catch, so there'll be less of them. I think that will make the fish population better, and at the same time would help make the lake more popular and the businesses be more profitable. I think it would cure a lot of issues all at once. Just my opinion, though. Just my brown water drinking and thinking going on out here. Tim Bolton says when they get to 250, they make a dump run. How many dump runs do you do at Bass Champs, at the Mega Bass Tournament, or the Sealy Outdoors Tournament? How many dump runs do you do in 2 or 3 days? How many? Mega Bass is 1 day, I think. But like Sealy's 3 days. Like, how many dump runs do you do in Sealy? In September, when it's still hot most of the time and lake's turning over, oxygen levels are low, delayed mortality is probably through the roof at that event. How many dump runs of 250 do you do in Sealy? That's what I want to know. Because that's going to be the worst example, most likely, of how many would die. Mega Bass 3 to 4. All right, what about Sealy? See if we get it. So that's a, and thank you so much for giving us this information. It's great information. Because if it's 3 to 4 in Mega Bass, it's got to be double that in Sealy. It has to be. So 3 to 4 is 750 to 1,000. We're talking about. He doesn't work Sealy. Okay, so it's going to be double at minimum in Sealy, maybe more than that. So let's just say it's 4 for Mega Bass, 8 for Sealy. I think a conservative estimate would be 8. So 2,000 fish, 600 fish we're potentially killing on delayed mortality. And if you're wondering where I'm pulling the 30% number from, that's a study I've read, that you can have about 30% delayed mortality. Which seems high and crazy, but that's what the study said, so I don't know. And that's a lot of the problem with bass fishing, is trying to figure out how to catch them. There's a lot of mystery, dude. Like, a lot of stuff we just don't know about under the water world and living. Like, that's what makes it great. We don't understand how the world operates under that water because we don't live down there. But yeah, if we're killing 500 bass every year in the Sealy's, like, that is millions of fry that we just killed every Sealy's. Millions. And I think that number can be significantly reduced if we went to a 20 or 22 inch minimum. I really do. And it would be better promotion and for the lake. Think about if you're fishing the hourly big bass tournaments. Instead of everybody bringing in 1.5 to 2.5 pounders, Dude, guys are bringing in freaking 7-pounders, 6-pounders, 5-pounders. That's like the low ends, like 5-pounders. Like, come on. Like, that's a much better tournament to go fish in, right? Like, it is. It definitely is. Favorite jig trailer this month? This month? As cold as it's been here lately, I want one of the like kind of heavier flapping like chigger crawl style. I've got an old home pour that Heath Taylor from Smash Tech made me years ago that I still have hundreds of that I use. But like that type of a like heavier arm chunk flapping crawl. Now, I will say, in a lot of situations, I'm going to go to like the twin tail grub style arm, like the Yamamoto twin tail grub, but that's a little bit small. So I actually like that 6-inch stroker crawl, the old twin tail grub arms. That's the one I really like the best. Yep, most days. But the last couple days, the best one's been the old kind of heavy claw, flapping, slow moving. Moves a little slower, like a chigger crawl style. Moves a little slower than the stroker crawl does. So kind of one of those two. Extreme cold, I go to the big heavy arm flapping crawls. Most days when it's not just extremely cold, I like the twin tail grub style arm, like the stroker crawl. Cody Mays. Simo says, in my tournament experience, which she did good in some tournaments. He's got some tournament experience. If you put pool noodles or bottles in your live well, it helps not stress the fish as well. That is funny that you mention that because if you put a bottle in me, I feel less stressed too. Cheers, y'all. I think that's a pretty good one. Hopefully y'all like that one. This is where I wish I could hear y'all, so I could hear y'all laugh when I say something funny. And that may not have been funny to most of y'all, but I thought it was funny. So there it is. Holy crap, have we been on here for an hour and 20 minutes? What in the hell? What just happened? I did not know we've been on here this long. Man, I have a talking issue. I have a real talking issue. Jay Schwartz says, what do you think of the 2025 Skeeter new screen, not gauges and switches? Well, I know what the fear is going to be, that it's just something else that can break easy. But I will say this. I have had zero issues with any of my stuff on Skeeter when it comes to the electronic push buttons. Skeeter has always done a really good job of building a durable, high-quality product that's built to last and holds up to the elements good. And, like, I've never had a whole lot of issues with that type of stuff. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and think that they did a good job with this screen and that it will hold up to water, impacts, all the stuff that comes with being on a bass boat. And, yeah, I think it'll be I think it'll be great. I think it'll be nice. You know, it'll be, it's fancy, it's nice, whatever. I don't care about that, but a lot of people do, and it will be fancy and nice and kind of be like, ooh, that's cool, whatever. But I think the Skeeter will build it the right way, and it'll be functional and good and do the job the way it's supposed to, for sure. For sure. And I'm saying this without having seen one in person. I saw one in person, but it wasn't turned on, and I haven't used it. So there may be some features to it where I'm like, dude, this thing's the deal. So hold up, let me get my 2025, then we'll figure that out. Cross says I need to try his crawls for jig trailers. I will. I need to. Man, I've got some ones that I've loved for years that I've been doing. I'm going to try the cross baits because you did send me some crawls. They're up there in the boat. And I tell you what I need you to do for me, Danny. Can you send me, do you have electric blue? Because when it's real cold, I like that. Dude, I use that electric blue. If you have electric blue, just send me one package of those. If you can. And I know if you need me to send you some money, let me know I'll send you some money. Text me, whatever. But, or DM me, whatever we've been doing. But if you got electric blue, I could use a jig trailer in electric blue, and I will certainly put it to work over the next couple months. Maze is out. Simo's out. See you, Simo. Hey, I only got one laughing face about my put a bottle in me, I have less stress comment. I thought that was really funny. I thought I nailed that. I guess not. Y'all ask some questions, and we're going to wrap this thing up, man. Not to be threatening, but hey, I will start running out of things to talk about if y'all don't ask some questions. So this stream will get really boring. Have black and blue sapphire. That works. Yeah, blue sapphire. Blue sapphire works. Blue sapphire is what I call electric blue. That's the old school electric blue is blue sapphire. Blue sapphire is what I mean. Yeah, the Zoom blue sapphire, that type of deal. So that's what I'm looking for. Have a high school fishing tournament Saturday on Rayburn. You need some bait ideas. Man, I wish you were here for the beginning of the live stream because I gave it all away. So let's say Rayburn. Wait a minute. Oh shit! This Saturday? Oh god. That's gonna be tough. We got some bad weather coming. I don't know if you know this, brother. It's gonna be a little chilly. This Saturday, I mean, dude, you just gotta go. A couple different ways you can go about it. You can go chatterbait and trap, but what I would say chatterbait and grass. If Rayburn's set up the way it was last time I was there, I don't know if there's still grass or not. If there's not grass, you need to go out there and go brush pile fishing with a jig, or you need to go jerkbait fishing if there's not grass. If there's grass, you can take a chatterbait and kind of burp it. Just let it fall all the way down in the grass and just brrr, out, let it fall. Brrr, out, let it fall. So that works when it's extreme. And I learned that the hard way at the end of a tournament day on Rayburn a couple years ago myself. And unfortunately for me, I didn't figure it out until there was like 30 minutes left in the tournament and I couldn't catch enough. No grass. All right, I'm getting reports there's no grass to speak of on Rayburn. So I'm sure there's some somewhere on Rayburn. Surely there can't be none. But yeah, sounds like what you need. So little grass, there might as well be none. Got it. Makes sense. Okay, with you 100%. So with these weather conditions especially, this would probably be better anyway. You're going to have to go find brush piles. And you're going to have to take a jig and a jerkbait. The jigs for the brush piles. The jerkbait you can go to points, especially I like better if it's timbered, but points and just kind of fish around that point like it's an area. If you have live scope, use that. That should be easy picking for you if you have live scope. Jerkbait and Alabama rig. That's going to be your deal on points. If you get some good brush piles, put a jig in it. That's probably going to be. That would be my best guess on day one without any other knowledge of Rayburn from what I'm hearing here. So that's how I would do it. So little grass, there might as well be none on Sam Rayburn. That's some sad stuff. Like that's borderline depressing. Hurts your feelings. Hell with that high school tournament. Just go fish Toledo. You'll have more fun. Cheers, y'all. That's sad, dude. That's really sad. No grass on Rayburn. Like, Sam Rayburn is such a traditional grass lake. And it's been like this. I've seen it like this. And, man, when it gets no grass, it just hurts my feelings. It hurts my feelings. Because my whole life growing up, Rayburn had grass. And then it didn't for a while, and then it came back. And, Rayburn without grass makes my feelings hurt a little bit. So, yeah. All right, somebody fire up some more questions, or are we just about to reach that time of the night where it's time to put one last lucky lipper in and do one last toast and get out of here. Toledo's the home lake, but all the tournaments are Sam Rayburn, yeah. Well, some of that will shift. Some of the tournaments will shift from Rayburn to Toledo with the grass. Because Toledo has got a lot of grass from what I saw last year. A lot of grass. I need to sell some apparel like the hoodie I have on now, some Bass Meat. Dude, we do need to do some Bass Meat Goes apparel because I can do some stuff with that. I can make a good logo with that, so we need to get into that, man. I may try to take some of that task on. Dude, it's just hard. I get so many moving parts. I gotta manage an app, manage the back end of an app. I gotta put new info and content on the app. I've got to run guide trips, of course. I got to do that first and foremost. Got to make content. Man, I've got to coach a kid's basketball team. Then I'm going to probably be coaching a kid's baseball team this spring. And when that's over, football will be happening again. Like, it's just hard to do so many things. Managing retail inventory and shipments on merchandise is just another thing to add in there. It's just hard to do a lot of it. But I know. I appreciate the fact that you guys, some of y'all want apparel. And that's not lost on me that, hey, that's pretty cool that people want to wear my logo. Like, that's really cool, right? That's really cool. Man, it's just hard to do all that. Too many irons in the fire sometimes, right? We did sell these hoodies once upon a time. And here's the problem. We made these hoodies so good that damn 7-8 years later, it still looks new. Like, that is one thing about when I do something, and I think people have started to kind of believe in that over the years, and the people that have bought it have found that out. When I make something and to put it up for sale, it's going to be the best quality you can get. Like, I'm not going to put my name on anything that's not of the highest standard. I'm just not going to do it. Go buy that Versa jig. Tell me you can find a better jig. I bet you. I dare you. Dare you. Go find a better jig. You won't do it. Like, that's like this hoodie, man. The material on it, the screen for the sublimation printing, like everything, the whole process of it. Like, we educated ourselves on all that, made sure we got the best of the best. The best of the best. That's what we did. So this hoodie's been in the sun over 1,000 days at this point, probably, and it still looks like this. You know, I mean, it's because we wanted to make sure we made. So I will say this: if we come out with some apparel, it's going to be. It may be a little more expensive than some other apparel, but it will be the highest quality you can get. 100%. I won't settle for anything else. I just won't. Anything that comes out with Bass Amigos Fishing, any bait that comes out will be the highest quality you can get. Danny from Crossbait said the grass is coming back in Rayburn, but high water killed it. That sucks. And Toledo's loaded up with grass. Yeah, Toledo was, when I went there last year, it had more grass than I've seen in a long time at Toledo last year. So that's good. That's good that it held up through the year and it'll hold up through this winter. That's good. Justin says he'll buy the first one when we come out with it. Got it. Yeah, life be life, and life do be life, man. It keeps you busy sometimes. It makes hard to wrangle everything. So, all right, boys, I think we're gonna wrap it up. If I get another question here before I close it out, we'll answer that as well. But it's been a fun one tonight. Been a good one. I think we offered some really good in-depth information early. So if you join later tonight, tomorrow, next week, come back and watch this video. And I think what I'm going to try to do is try to make a once-a-month video about here's how to catch them in January. Next month, or we'll go earlier in the month next time, but try to get it in the first week or so of the month. We'll do how to catch them in February, and then we'll do how to catch them in March, April, May. So we'll just do like a once a month. Here's the baits you need for this month. Here's how to catch them. Now, I will tell you, when we get to May, that's going to be a long list of baits. Basically, the list of baits is going to be catch them how you want to. On whatever bait you want to. That's the May video. We just made it right there. So, yeah. Well, I think that's a good idea for once a month videos where we do kind of in depth on here's the bait you need, here's the areas you need to fish, here's how you need to fish them. I think that can help you guys catch more and bigger fish. And that's what we're about. Loving our fellow man and catching more and bigger fish right here at your Lake Fork Guide. How about your top recommended baits would still apply at Lake Fayette since it's a warm water lake? If they're still generating down there at Lake Fayette and the water's still 70s, upper 60s, 70s, something like that, guys, they're spawning. Right now they're spawning. That's what they do. So no, these baits, not the same. I mean, there's some similarities in there, but you need to just go fish for spawning fish, dude. Get your weightless plastics out, get your little weedless swim baits out, and go sight fishing and get your top waters and have a great time. It should be fine. They're spawning. If they're pumping and generating and the water's around 70 degrees or so, or even higher, they should be spawning. So there you go. That's it. That's a wrap. Nailed it. Check done. Cheers, y'all. We'll see you next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide.